Welcome back to another review by Mega Train Lover. Today we're having a look at the penultimate locomotive which I purchased at the London Festival of Railway Modelling. So this is Loco 4 out of 5. As you can see, it's another Bachmann model, and it's another Bachmann model which is in pretty old packaging, but nonetheless it is a model which is still somewhat available today, and it looks good, it looks alright. Anyway, you can probably tell from the picture that this is a Ivatt Class 2 2MT 260 tender engine. If we turn to the side, you can see product code is 32-826 Ivatt Class 2MT 260, number 46440, and BR line black with the early emblem. So, the locomotive itself is, again, not in the box. I've already gave it a run in, and this was DCC fitted to begin with, because this is a second-hand model, but I got this at a really good price, and for a DCC fitted model I think that is really nice. Anyway, so the Ivatt Class 2 260s were built by the London, Midland and Scottish Railway to the design of H.G. Ivatt, hence their name, and there were 128 of these built between 1946 and 1953, and they were built at Crewe, Darlington and Swindon. Now, only 10 were built by the LMS, and then the rest of the engine, those were built in 1946, and then the rest of the engines started to be built from 1948, but obviously under the auspices of BR by that point. And they were sent to work across various different regions. So they were built by the Midland region, but they ended up in the Western region as well, and I think some worked on the Eastern region as well. But one place the tender engines at least didn't touch is the Southern region. Now, alongside the tender engines, some 262 tank engines were built as well. They were built to a very similar design. In fact, they looked they had more or less the same components. Obviously, the main difference being that one was a tender, the other one was a tank engine. The tank engines were built for branch lines. The tender engines as well. These were built to basically replace a lot of the much older designs that were built way back in the 1800s. And they survived, more or less intact until the early 1960s, when withdrawals began, and the last ones were withdrawn in 1967. Now, in terms of the tank engines, 4 of those have been preserved. With regards to the tender engines, 7 have been preserved. One of probably the most famous example is 46528, which is currently at the Great Central Railway, I believe. That one is famous for starring in Oh Dr. Beeching. At the time, in the 90s, it was based at the Severn Valley Railway. And I think these are one of the best locomotives to use on the Heritage Railway, because it's a lightweight, relatively powerful machine, perfect for Heritage Railway runs. Anyway, enough about the real locomotive. We're going to see how good this model is. So we're going to put the box to one side, and the engine itself is right here. And as you can see, the tender and the locomotive are permanently coupled, so I'm going to have to hold it quite carefully, but oh wow. Wow, just look at that, absolutely beautiful. 2 things to add: the brake pipe comes in the detail pack, I've fitted that. The headlight at the top, I had a spare, I fitted that myself as well, just to sort of lift the look of the model a bit. But wow, I mean, the model itself, it looks really nice. Obviously some of the detail is not up to current standards, but I think overall it does look really good. You get sprung buffers on both the locomotive, on both the engine and the tender. Really nice touch. I mean, just look at the valve gear. Only it looks a bit chunky, but it does look really good. Really nice and sturdy. Delivery is spot on. and you get the safety valves and the whistle. And you get the cab roof vent, which I don't think opens. No, it doesn't. It's just moulded on. A little bit of a shame, but what can you do? It's fine. Some of the other details do make up for it, because that does look really good. Let's have a look at the cab. The cab looks quite good. So you get some of the details painted there. Obviously, it's not up to the standards of more modern locos, but for a model of this age, it's fine. Although, of course, these models are still being sold for quite a high RRP. So, if we are going by the current recommended retail price of the models, then, some of this sort of I wouldn't say lack of detail, but obviously, some of the detail lacks the finesse of modern models. So it might seem a bit unacceptable. But, for my particular one, at the price I got it for, it's perfectly fine for me anyway. These are just my personal views, but obviously everyone has their own opinion. These are just my personal views. Personally, I do really like this model, and considering the size of the model, it is really heavy. It's surprisingly heavy, considering that the engine itself anyway fits in the palm of my hand. So it really is quite heavy. So it's not going to have any trouble with traction. That's for sure. Now there is one thing which I don't particularly like about this model. The wires, they do look quite ugly, and they are very noticeable if you look from above. Now they've tried to cover it with this sort of masking tape, but you can still very clearly see the wires themselves. Obviously a much more neater arrangement would have been more appreciated, because I think the decoder does go in the tender, but and it's got 2 plugs as well, so yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't really look all that good to me, but what can you do? There's the front of the tender, which looks really nice, and as you can see, there is realistic coal added, but I think the previous owner must have done that, because I doubt the model comes with realistic coal as standard. But anyway, it does look really nice. I like how sort of enclosed the cab is. These have much better cabs compared to their predecessors, which obviously had fairly open cabs, and they weren't very suitable for the British weather. But anyway, you get a ladder on the rear, which is really nicely modelled. It's obviously separately fitted. You get sprung buffers and this brake pipe at the rear, which again I fitted myself. If the camera focuses again, goodness, it's really having trouble. There we go. So as you can see, I fitted the brake pipe myself. You get separately fitted lamp irons, and you get some text there showing the not quite sure what that says, but the one at the bottom definitely shows how many gallons how many gallons of water the tender can carry. So yeah, overall it is a very nice looking engine. Obviously some of the detail isn't up to modern standards, but for the price I paid for it, and overall it is I do really like it detail wise. However, let's see how she performs. So here we have the Bachmann Ivatt Class 2 260 on the track, and what we're going to do now is we're going to select her number and watch her go. A bit of a jerky start there, but I think it might be something to do with the decoder that's fitted into her. But other than that, I've put her to halfway speed and she's running really well. I just love the way the valve gear is moving, but that's something I always love on steam engine models. Yeah, let's get a few shots of her passing. So yeah, as you can see, she's running really well for a model of this age. So just to conclude this video, I definitely recommend her. If you can get her at a good price, study. I've seen Bachmann retailing this for quite a ridiculous price, and you know, it's a nice retailed model, but it's not up to the finesse of modern motors. So, you know, wouldn't spend full RRP on this personally, but you know, if you can get a good bargain, I'll definitely go for it. Because it is a really nice model at the end of the day. But anyway, thanks very much for watching, and see you in the next review. Goodbye.